Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Saturday, July 31st Zoom mini class. I don't know about you, but I cannot believe that we are at the end of July. Time is going so quickly, and the summer always goes quickly. And we've been working a lot in the store, getting ready because we've already had our first couple of shipments of Christmas products, and there is more on its way. So if you saw the email this week and in the directions, I said grab a 6x6 pad. Mostly we're using that for matting and that kind of thing. But because we were moving stuff around, I came across this beautiful paper from Flower Garden from Cartabella. It's very beautiful and spring-like and everything else, and it just kept speaking to me for today's class. So even though I told you to grab 6x6, I've got 12x12, but it's all going to work. I like that this has nice small patterns for what we're going to do. And if I bring in some of these stickers, I'm going to try and use the less busy pattern behind those stickers in order to really make them pop. But you use what you've got. If you grabbed 6x6, that's fantastic. If you've got 12x12 or even just parts of 12x12, anything is going to work on what we are creating today. So speaking of what we're creating today we are doing a twisted easel card. And I think we've done easel cards in the past where it folds from the top and then stands up. This one's going to be a little bit different. And when we're done, you'll understand why I'm calling it twisted. The card is actually going to look as if it's on a bit of an angle. But we will play with our decoration and really make sure that looks awesome. So for right now, I'm just going to take my pattern paper and my stickers and tuck them aside. We don't need them quite yet. Just bringing somewhere over because you know what, no matter how much space you have, you never ever have enough. The other pieces that we need for today is we do need a standard size card base. I have not scored mine yet, so we'll do that in just a second. But if you've got one already, that's fine. We're going to do a little extra scoring on this piece as well. For measurements, this is 5.5 by 8.5. And then when we score it, it'll be 4 1/4 by 5.5 folded, which is a standard A2. And I think most of you are familiar with that. The other two pieces I asked you to have are two pieces of white that are 4 1/4 by 5.5. We're going to be cutting these down a little bit, but this is our starting point. So it's nice to have those handy. If you would rather do these pieces in colored paper or pattern paper, you are more than welcome to, as long as they're sturdy. But maybe just start with the white or wait to see what I do first and then change it up on the replay when you keep making these, because I think you're going to really like this format. But these are just part of the mechanism. There is going to be an extra twist to our twisted easel card because we're going to put a pocket inside as well. And that's where these two pieces come into play. All right, less talking. Let's do some more creating. I'm just going to take my card base and do my scoring. So my first score line is going to be at that 4 1/4 mark just to make my card base. As always, ladies, if I get going too fast or if you need me to repeat something, please just unmute yourself or let me open up the chat here. If you have questions, you can also pop them in the chat. If you're watching on replay, feel free to pause and rewind as needed. All right, so I've got my 5.5 by 8.5. I'm just going to score it at the 4 1/4 inch mark to make my card base. Easy peasy. And that's pretty standard. I'm just giving it a little burnish so that fold is nice and crisp. Now, if you remember when we have done easel cards in the past, it's had a top fold and then we've scored a second time in order to make that easel mechanism. This time, because the score line is on the side, we're actually going to score it in half diagonally. So if you open up your card, make sure you keep track of which is the front and which is the back. I'm going to do a score line from the top right corner down to the bottom left corner. Now you are welcome to use your paper trimmer. Sometimes I find that a little bit easier to score on the diagonal, or I'm going to try my best. My scoreboard has these little tick marks that I try to follow in order to keep my piece straight. We don't need measurements, so we're just trying to make sure that we stay in the same line. So if I put my corner here on this tick mark, I'm just going to move it up a little bit and follow this line. I need to move this over. All right, I think I'm good. I'm just going to score right from that top right down to the bottom left and make a triangle. So as I then fold along that line, this is where you can see that twist starting to happen. I'm going to give it a good burnish. Just so that it has some nice flexibility to it. So when we're going to make our card, it's going to actually stand up like this. And we're going to put a stopper in here so it doesn't slide, but this is how that twisted easel comes into play. So you really want to make sure that your folds move nicely in both directions. And honestly, that is all there is to the mechanism. Now we get to have fun decorating. I'm actually going to start with the inside so that we can put our pocket into place, and then we'll come back and decorate the front as well. I want this to have a nice colored background behind it, and then we're going to put a pocket, a triangle pocket on here. So for the inside, I'm going to start with, I think I'm going to start with, I'm actually going to start with this flower pattern. I like how the flowers have that dark background. It's really going to make things pop. So I know I also want to use it on the front. So I am going to cut 2 pieces that are 4 by 5 1/4, because I do like to have that little bit of a white border around the outside. This piece is really random, so it does not matter which direction I use it in. It's got these pretty windows on the back, but I don't think I'm going to use those. I'm just going to stick with the flowers. So this piece, 2 pieces that are 4 by 5 1/4. So let's do the 5 1/4 first. Actually, no, I'm going to do the 4 first. Like so. And then if I turn it horizontal and do 5 1/4 twice, that gives me 2 pieces. Okay, got a little bit of scrap. I'm going to put that aside for right now. 1 piece I'm also going to put aside because I want that for the front. This piece I'm simply going to attach inside my card. So this is my nice little background that is going to be behind our pocket. It's just going to stick it down. Oh, that tape runner is empty. Good thing I work in a craft store that I have adhesive at my disposal. All right, and layer this inside. Like so. And that's just going to provide a nice background behind my card. Now I want to make a pocket. All right, ladies, so now I'm going to make my pocket. Sorry, I just had to answer a quick question. I'm going to take one of my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 pieces of cardstock that we had cut off the front or off the top of the session. And again, I'm going to do that same diagonal as I did with my scoring, but we're just going to mirror that on the inside. So top right to bottom left. And I'm just going to cut it like so. The top left-hand corner of this, you can actually put aside. We're not going to use that, but you might want to stamp a sentiment or do something extra with that. Or if you're making a second card, you can always flip that around and do a second pocket. With this one, it's going to tuck just in this bottom left corner here. But because we want it to be a pocket, please remember to only put tape on the outside edges, not on the big long diagonal. So I've got super skinny score tape for 2 reasons. First of all, we do want it to have a good strong stick, especially if we're going to tuck like a gift card or something inside. As well, I just like that it's really thin. So it gives me lots of room in my pocket. The trouble is just finding where it starts. All right. So just on the outside edges, not on the long diagonal. And that is all the tape that you need for this pocket. Give it a good burnish so that it sticks down, and then peel your backing. And just gently, I'm actually going to line up my corner first and my bottom edge. And by doing that, I should be able to just slide it down. And that outside edge should line up as well. If you do happen to be over a little bit, you can always trim it down. But now we've got our nice little pocket all ready to go. And part of the reason why I am doing this first is because when we go to place our stopper, we want it to be on the outermost piece. So if I put the stopper down and then put the pocket on, it would get covered up. So that's part of the reason why I'm doing the inside first. Let us decorate this pocket now as well. I'm going to use this adorable bumblebee paper. And again, I like to mirror what's on the inside to what's on the outside. So I'm going to do one triangle that's going to go on the top left-hand corner of the front of the card. And I'm going to do the opposite triangle on the pocket. So I'm going to start by cutting a piece that is 4 by 5 1/4, and then we will cut it in the diagonal. Now this one, we do have to be careful with directions. So I'm going to turn my bees sideways and do the 5 1/4 inch measurement first. And then I'm going to do the 4 inch measurement, like so. And now I want to cut from the top right to the bottom left. I guess I could have stayed with my slide trimmer, but I like doing my guillotine, give a nice sharp edge here. So that gives us these 2 pieces. And while I have this trimmer out, I'm going to do the same thing with my second piece of floral paper. So top right to bottom left. There we go. Now, when you're designing your own card, if you want to do all of these triangles, all different patterns, they don't have to be the same. I just like to, especially with this paper, I just want to try and mirror everything that's on the inside. So I'm going to put my bumblebees here, and I'm going to put a flower piece here, like so. And then we'll take that other bumblebee and put him on the inside. Once again, this can just be any adhesive. These are just decorative panels. And make sure nothing's showing. You will have that bit of a border, so make sure you leave that. That means you will also have a little bit of a border at your fold. Try not to go over that fold because we want to make sure that we are moving nicely. And there we go. And this one's going to go down here. So there's our front, making sure that that fold is moving smoothly. And I will put my bumblebees in here on that pocket. Like so. Whoops, not straight. There we go. Oh. There we go. So far, so good. Now, if you wish, you could also decorate the inside left panel of your card just in the same way that we did the front of the card, making sure that you are keeping that fold clear. But honestly, not much of it is going to get shown, so I'm going to choose to not decorate my inside at this time. You can always go back and decorate it afterwards as well. But see how this is starting to come together with the papers all, you know, just making each other pop. It's looking awesome. Everybody doing okay so far? Thumbs up, head nods, fantastic. Okay, now it's time for figuring out what we're going to put on the front of our card. So if you remember when we did the top folding easel card, we had a second piece that was going to stand up. And that is going to be the same with this one. However, we've put all this pretty paper on, so we want to make sure that it doesn't cover it up. So I'm actually going to trim this piece down to, let's do 3.5 by 5. We'll start there and see what that looks like. Once again, this could be pattern paper as well, if you prefer. I'm going to just stay with the white just to give it some rigidity and some stability, and then layer my pattern paper on top. So 3.5 by 5. And when I look at that, the sides left and right, I'm seeing, you know, a fair bit of the pattern paper, but I feel like I'm losing some at the top. So I'm going to trim it down a little bit more. Let's go down to 4 3/4. And sometimes that's all you have to do is kind of play with what you're working with and how much you want to see. Actually, I'm going to go 4.5. So I did 3.5 by 4.5. And, you know, I always compare this to a haircut. You've probably heard me say that before. You're better off to trim a size a little bit larger than what you might think, because it's easier to go smaller. It's not easier to stick it back on. All right. So that is going to be my pop-up. So as with a lot of other fun fold type mechanisms. The key is where you put the tape and where you don't put the tape. I know that I want the tape only on this bottom right corner. So I'm going to flip the paper towards me, which means I now want tape on the top right corner. So I'm just going to add a little bit, and you know what, I'm going to just take one strip of score tape and put it right down the middle, maybe a little bit less than the middle, just to give it that extra stick on that fold. So I'll bring that up close to show you. It's not quite, if we were to draw a pencil line, I would be just to the right of the pencil line with that sukwang, and then I've just backed it up with some extra tape runner tape. We're going to flip back this way, and I'm going to try and line up my corners with that score line, because that'll make sure that we get it nice and even. There we go. So if you've done it right, you don't have any tape up here, and it's going to go like this. So that way it's going to give that little bit of a twist in your card. And then just to decorate it up, what did I say? This was 3.5 by 4.5. I'm going to take some of this pink paper and do 3.25 by 4.25 to decorate it. And this is where it's tricky because my numbers have worn off. There's my 3.25. 3.25 by 4.25. Attach it to that rectangle with that little bit of a white border. And now this is all starting to come together. And let's look at my stickers. I love this big telephone booth. Is it going to show up well on this dark pink paper? I think it might. Yeah, that actually kind of looks pretty. I'm going to come back to that. And what message am I going to put on the front? I think I'm just going to do, maybe I'm going to do hello sunshine, and oh, there's a hello sunshine here in the teal. Let's do hello sunshine. And because I'm gonna put this on the, I'm gonna use this one on the inside. Maybe, I don't know, let's see what fits. So I'm gonna put the telephone booth down flat, and this is where you can do whatever decorating you wish. You could easily cut a 3 by 4 cut apart for this, or this one had some beautiful tags on the back of the paper that you could fussy cut. Oh, I remembered I wanted to use that black boot as well. Maybe we'll do that. So I'm looking at building threes. Threes always have the best aesthetic. Your brain seems to process that the best. I'm going to use this Hello Sunshine. If I can get it off the sheet. Now this one I want to pop up. Again, if I can get it off the sheet here. So when you want to pop up a sticker, I'm going to put it face down. I'm going to put my little foam squares on, but I'm not going to remove the backing. Put one on each end, and then one in the middle just to give it some stability. And I'm going to use my powder tool to de-stick the sticker. And I always like to put the foam squares on first to make sure that they actually stick but leave that backing on because you don't want to lose the sticky of your foam. If you don't have a powder tool, you can use some baby powder or some cornstarch with just like a paintbrush or a little bit of sponge or even just your finger to apply the powder. This is just going to take the sticky off the sticker so that if it pushes down or gets pushed down in the mail, you don't get it stuck in a weird way. And now if I touch those middle areas, oh, there's still a little bit of stick there. There we go. So I think I'll put that like that. And I want to put something else. Maybe I'll put this little trolley. So it's just kind of sticking there in front of the phone booth. And again, I'm going to pop this guy up. So I'll use big ones this time just because it's faster and I've got the space. And I don't know if you just saw what I just did. I actually turned the foam square into a diamond, you know, like in those shreddy ads where you have diamond shreddies, which is really just the square shreddies turned on an angle, but that way it gets down into those wheels. And then this one's going to fit in between. Before I remove the backings, let's de-stick this sticker. And you know what the nice thing about baby powder is that it makes your card smell nice and fresh. Okay. I think I've got that the way I like it. My three elements are creating a bit of a triangle, which is always good. 3s or 5s. And now we're using connecting our flowers as well. It's nice when you buy all kinds of stuff from the same line because everything just kind of coordinates nicely. But if you're using different lines or different papers from your stash, just look for common elements or common colors or common shapes to try and build those. So here we've got the flowers that we're connecting and that blue as well. And you know what? I'm going to leave my front just like that for right now. I may come back and add some more, but let's create that stopper mechanism and you can see what the card looks like finished. So open it up. And like I said, so the stopper mechanism is just to keep, I mean, with the pocket, you could just do like that the pocket actually holds it. But what if you want it to be not quite so vertical, I guess is the right way. This is where I'm going to grab a decent size, not too big, not too small element from my sticker sheet. And I'm going to put it on here. But with the stopper, you do want it to be raised so that it does actually stop your cover. So this is where I'm going to choose the beautiful day circle. And just like the other elements, I'm going to pop them up. Don't need a whole lot. Maybe I'll do 2 large and 2 small just to fill in the space. There we go. Let's powder it up, get rid of the stick. Make it smell good. All right. So make sure it's staying upside down, right side up, the words, I mean. And I want it to kind of sit right here in the corner, maybe a little bit higher up. So now I've kind of eyeballed. I want to cover up this bumblebee as a landmark so I can peel. And again, make sure your words are right way up. Maybe I'll go a little bit on that angle So they're not upside down. So that's the key part. And voila, your stopper is in place. So now we can just add a few more decorations if we wish. I like this little spray of flowers drying on the line. So I'm going to put it up here with my black. And you know what? You're probably noticing that if you were to write a message on this, where the heck would you write it? What my intention is if I use this pocket for a gift card, I could put the gift card in, but I could also create myself a little tag to put the sentiment on. So maybe I'll do that out of this corner piece. Let's see, and I'm totally winging this, so you might want to wait until I finish, and then I'll give you the measurements. So I'm going to do this at 2.5 and 2.5 by 2 3/4. And then I just need to trim that corner off as well. Yeah, that was totally eyeballed, and you can see I'm a little wonky, but that's okay. You get the idea. Maybe what I'll do is let's come back and do this. Let's do 2 1/4. Or no, let's do 2. No, and now I'm just making it worse. But you get the idea, because I'm just winging it, and we can fix it or not. So that's where I would put my sentiment. I would tuck my gift card in there, and then maybe put a sticker on it. So let me play around with this, and I will finish that after the video, but you get the idea. And then this can tuck up there. We can add some jewels and sequins if we wanted to, but it's nice because even with all that foam, it still lies relatively flat. You should still be able to mail it, no problem if you are dropping it in the mail, but it's got that nice little interactive element for your friend who is going to display the cards. Debbie is suggesting perhaps your sentiment could be your stopper. Absolutely. I meant just more in terms of if you're writing to so-and-so from so-and-so. So yes, absolutely. If you had a little white shape or a white circle, you could absolutely write your message on there as well. That way it gets displayed all the time too. Great idea, Debbie. All right, so unless there are any questions, that is our twisted easel with pocket. And I'm sure you can understand that you could do this mechanism without the pocket. You could just put your stopper on the flat area and have it both ways. So thank you very much, everyone. And I hope you enjoyed our springtime twisted easel card with pocket.